What's up, everybody? Welcome into the show. This is episode number 404. Error. 404 error. Now, hopefully we don't have any of those tonight. 404, John Thomas Masen, busted. But we'll get there, I promise. First, let me welcome in everybody. And Joe, welcome to the show. We're down here. I don't know how it is up there, but down here we are like right at the tail end of the devil's asshole, as we call it. Where
you talking
huh?
the smoke? The smoke?
Yes, the smoke, the haziness, the hot humidity, heat, the smell.
It's been horrible, man. I think it's maybe a little more prevalent up here as we are closer to the
Oh
Canadas,
no, the wind's
but
blowing right down through the valley here, my friend.
it's
It's bad.
crazy.
As if we
And
didn't need another reason to hate Canadians. No, I'm kidding. We love our Canadians. What the hell is on my
yes,
hat?
and we have an outbreak of you know what,
Explosive.
which I might or might not have.
Well, if you see me get up or disappear at any time, you know why. Allegedly.
Oh man, it's so now I can't eat Taco Bell or Chipotle. This is like Armageddon.
Yeah.
It's
All right,
horrible.
Joe. Welcome in, everybody. Again, we're glad that you're here. Hopefully, you're catching the show live. Dipstick, stay up. Don't fall asleep. We see you there. We promise. So let's get right into it, Joe, without further ado. So
Yes, we know you all are here and we love you. But let's just get right into it.
let's cut the bullshit. Let's get right into the research. All right.
And
Let me.
who is Mr. John Thomas Mason?
Well,
Tiny asks.
I'll tell you. We will tell you. Let's see here if I can get on the right winder to share.
Robbie Tabs.
All right. So John Thomas Mason was a gun shop owner in Dallas, and he was one of two gun shops in Dallas in 1963 that had for sale some Mannlicher Carcano 6.5 inch millimeter, ammunition. He had went in with a buddy of his, and they split a case of 1,000 between the two of them, and they got it for fairly cheap. He described it as a very obscure type of ammunition. Of course, he did not recall selling any to Lee Harvey Oswald. I'm
Of
not even
course.
sure if he remembers selling any at all to anybody. Who knows? Like I said, it's very weird ammunition to have, but he was one of two stores in Dallas that did have it. And you got to figure that Oswald or whoever had this rifle needed some bullets. We found the spent shells, a couple unspent shells, but where's the rest of them, Joe?
They
Where's the
do not
rest of the
know.
box of bullets?
Right? I don't believe there was any recovered at his home, right?
I mean, and Oswald pack ratted everything, and I mean everything. He would have definitely kept, you know, uh, even if there was one bullet left, he would have definitely kept the pack with the one bullet in there. You know what I mean?
Yes.
To think that he had a case, and I don't know how many would have been in a case, maybe what, 50?
I don't know.
I don't know. And you figure he had I think two unspent shells in the clip. And of course, we have the three spent shells. That only accounts for five or six bullets. Where's the rest of them? Did he go to the gun range and shoot them all?
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, back to John Thomas Mason. Now, there were some curious things that happened in Dallas leading up to November 22nd, 1963. There was what we like to call around here some fuckery abound, if you will, uh, as per the usual in this case. But there was some investigations going on between the Dallas police, uh, between the ATF, which was actually called the ATT at the time, the Bureau of Alcohol, Taxation, and something else. I can't remember what, but it was called the AT&T. And there was a guy named Frank Ellsworth who was investigating a lot of this gun running and fuckery going on in Dallas. And we'll see his name on all kinds of these documents that we're going to be looking at here today. He's all over the place, Frank Ellsworth. He's been accused of being the document. No. What are you doing, Joe?
I got lost this time.
Thought you got the explosive diarrhea.
No.
Um.
Yes, Ellsworth, ATF agent.
Yes. Yeah, he's all over this case. You'll see him pop up from time to time. But let me show you something that I found that's interesting. All right. What we're looking at here, Joe, is a police department, City of Dallas case report. All right.
Okay.
This is not an arrest report like we've all seen. This is a weird one. Like, this is a case report. Okay.
Yes.
And it was filed on, as you can see, the date here, 11/21/63. So this is the day before the assassination. Right here.
Mm-hmm. On the right side, yeah.
Yeah. So it tells you the investigating officers, Homer Burris and T.J. Taylor. The arresting officers, I don't know what that even says. On bond, Jimmy Cook, attorney. This disposition, whatever this is for this case report, is stamped December 16th, 1963, which is, of course, after the assassination and after Oswald has been killed. But back down here, so the defendant, John Thomas Masen, white man, 23, male, date of arrest, right here, 11/20/63.
Right.
Okay?
He was arrested and then re-arrested. Correct?
No, he was arrested on the 20th. They filed this case report on the 21st, and the disposition was, I guess the hearing was on December 16th. Okay?
Okay.
See, right down here, it says location of the defendant. He was out on bond. I guess he bonded out after he was arrested on the 20th. Okay? And he stayed out or at large until he went to court for December 16th. I'm not a lawyer, but I play one on YouTube. Okay? All right. Why was he arrested? Why was he charged? What was this case about? Well, this Johnny Genius, John Thomas Masen, he was charged with illegal possession of explosives in accordance with Penal Code Article 1723. And what that means is he had, and I'll read the list here, 39 and a half sticks of Hercol, number 2. These are 2-inch by 8-inch sticks of dynamite. 1 stick of number 2 Hercol, 1 inch by 6 inches. Also 1 broken stick of that, 2 sticks of Viper Gel number 3, 60%, 2.5 by 22 inches. That is a long stick, Joe, of dynamite. That's what she said.
Yeah.
Also, 1 broken stick of the same. 16 Vibranite. These sound like vibrator parts. 16 Vibranite primers, 2 inches in diameter. 1 full and a box of Hercules blasting caps. 100 number 6 copy 2 top box. I don't know. 100 feet of Clover brand safety fuse. 800 feet of bicord primer cord. This was the remainder of a 1,000-foot roll. Okay. And they took all this shit. All right. Now down here in a little bit of ways. Again, this Johnny Genius, the defendant was doing business at 7402 Harry Hines Boulevard in a gun shop. The federal officers within the Alcohol Tax Division, that's the ATT, received information that this person had the illegal weapons. They called the investigating officers who met them at this location, and the above-listed explosives were recovered. The crime lab was asked to report to this location and took these articles to the police pistol range for storage. This person was placed under arrest by the federal officers and charged with National Firearms Act. So we have these Dallas Police Department officers. They said that they will testify that the defendant was in charge of the business and was there when investigating officers arrived, that he had the explosives, get this, folks, on display in the store for sale. So he had all this dynamite, blasting caps, deck cord, just set up on a table, Joe. It's like, hey, look at this.
Yes, he was not being covert about it. Got that right this time.
Yes, not being very covert about it. Like when you're trying to buy a weed in a vape store. Like, hey, my buddy said y'all got the good stuff here, right?
Yeah, and don't do that, guys.
Get out of here, cop. But no, this guy had the balls enough to just set it up on a table and say, hey, it's for sale. And that the investigating something raised or asked the crime lab detective Pete Barnes and Detective Studebaker, whose names we all know from the Kennedy assassination, to place these articles at the police pistol range for storage. Witnesses, witness list. All right, second name down here, Frank Ellsworth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they will all testify that they saw the dynamite in the defendant's possession when they were taking their case for the illegal weapons that the defendant had, and called the investigating officers at the store at 7402 Harry Hines Boulevard. These are all other investigative officers, yada, yada, yada. Now, the reason they were there, all this was just like a dessert for them. All right? Because they were, in fact, investigating this guy for purchasing illegal firearms from possibly our military or corrupt officers in our military.
Right.
Rifles, if you will.
Yes, with possibly, allegedly, help from our good friend, Mr. Ruby.
Yeah, but we'll get there. We promise. All right, let me stop that one.
Ain't that the truth, Mike?
Yeah.
I'd love.
Can't beat it when you can just throw some dynamite on the table and 50 cents a stick.
Yeah.
All right. Here we have an FBI document dated March 17th, 64. Concerning Special Agent in Charge Dallas, Special Agent in Charge San Antonio. Oh, John Thomas Masen, a.k.a. IS Cuba Neutrality Matters, which we've all seen all over Lee Harvey Oswald documents from the FBI as well.
Hmm.
Now, what this letter states is that for the information of Dallas, Captain George C. Nanti has been contacted on January 30th, 64, and again on March 10th by Charles Smith at Fort Hood, Texas. And on each occasion, Captain Nanti advised that he had no contact initiated by Mason relative to the caption matter. Captain Nanti did advise on March 10th that he had made telephonic contact with Mason approximately 2 weeks prior to see if Mason had knowledge of anyone interested in purchasing several of his, Nanti's, guns from his personal, notice not military, personal collection of over 100 guns he's got, Joe.
Yeah.
But at the time, Mason was unable to assist in the sale of these guns. Nanti expressed the basis for his attempt to sell guns from his personal collection is financial at the present time. I need a little money, you know what I mean?
Yeah. He
Now,
did retire the next year, by the way, in '64.
well, yeah. Uh, Now they were sniffing around Nanti and Mason because they had been watching them, and they knew that Nanti had been selling Mason these surplus, allegedly, military weapons. They're not really from Nante's personal private collection, okay?
Right.
This is all Nanti's story, and he's sticking to it, right? Nanti stated that he made no inquiry of Mason relative to his forthcoming trial, and that Mason volunteered no comment in this regard. Here we got Frank Ellsworth again. Oh, there it is, AT&T, the Alcohol, Tobacco, and Tax Unit. Special Agent Frank Ellsworth, assigned to the Dallas, Texas office, was interviewed by Charles Smith at Fort Hood, at which time Ellsworth related that he had worked undercover. Gotcha, motherfucker. During the investigation, which led to the arrest of John Thomas Mason on 11/20/63 at Dallas, Texas, and imparted the information that had been learned from Mason during his undercover status, which indicates that Captain George Nanti had been a source of supply of arms and ammo to Mason. Allegedly, during the period of time that Nanti was furnishing information of Mason's activities in purchasing arms for the Cuban revolutionaries to the FBI at Fort Hood, Texas.
Yeah. Can I
Now,
stop?
yeah,
Okay. No, continue your thought, and I'll chime in after.
okay. This is where things get a little complicated. So, just to back up a minute, we have the AT&T, which is basically the ATF, working undercover to try to bust a guy in the military selling allegedly surplus weapons to a gun shop owner for resale. And then allegedly, you have George Nanti, a military guy, ratting John Thomas Mason out to the FBI for pressuring him to supply him with arms and ammunition for the Cuban revolutionaries. Okay? So what he's saying is allegedly Mason came to him, said he needed a bunch of weapons for some Cuban revolutionaries, and then Nani went to the FBI and snitched. But apparently the FBI was like, okay, well, just play along. We'll keep tabs on everything, whatever. So you have two factions of our government working against each other, didn't know it at the time, allegedly.
That's exactly what I was going to say. We have another example of interagency conflict, non-communication, and
Yeah.
a bunch of skafoozery spy games.
Yeah. We're right dead in the middle of it, right before the assassination in Dallas, of all effing places. So Ellsworth related that he was present in Mason's Sporting Goods store in Dallas when another ATT agent, William Fuller of New Mexico, both of whom were undercover posing as buyers. All right, so you got Ellsworth posing undercover along with this other FBI agent or ATT agent, William Fuller. They're posing as buyers trying to get some illegal weapons. A short time prior to Mason's arrest, when he witnessed a telephone conversation between Masen and Nanti, in which Masen repeated the conversation of Nanti for the benefit of Fuller and Ellsworth, during which conversation Nanti supposedly agreed to accept $30,000, which was a lot of fucking money in 1963, folks.
Yes.
Right, Joe?
Yes, it was.
I mean, that's over $250,000
Yes, well over. Yeah. Or a little bit over, but yeah.
for the purchase of 300 guns, consisting of grease guns, bars, and Thompson machine guns, submachine guns, that were allegedly salvaged from a South or Central American revolution and were cached south of the Rio Grande River, with no country being specified. According to Ellsworth, bargaining back and forth between Fuller, himself, Masen, and Nanti resulted in the agreed purchase price of $30,000. But that Nanti had stated that he would guarantee safe delivery of the arms to any reasonable designated place in Texas from their present location south of the border, if they could agree upon a satisfactory down payment to be delivered prior to the delivery of the guns. Okay? So, now we have Nanti. They made a deal. And I honestly don't think that these weapons were coming from south of the border, from some South American revolution, okay? And that Nanti agreed to deliver 300 weapons anywhere in Texas that you like. I mean, he may have, but again, they're not coming from south of the border, folks. These are coming straight from Fort Hood and Fort Dix and wherever the hell else they're coming from.
Yes, and Mike the library man asked, "Is Monte in the army?" And yes, right.
Yes.
He was out of Fort Hood. Yes.
Yeah. So Special Agent Ellsworth said that his office had written 2 reports concerning their investigation of Mason, which would incorporate much of the above info in more detail, and that such reports have been disseminated to the, where, Joe? 112th. Where have we heard this one before?
Military intelligence.
Yeah. Region 2 to Agent who, Joe?
Ed Coyle.
Yeah. And I'm sure folks out there, your ears just perked up a little bit. Okay? Ed Coyle, I believe, now don't quote me on this, but I believe they talked to Ed Coyle, the HSCA did, as part of the 112th, the whole thing with the Oliver Stone movie and the Fletcher Prouty bullshit that was, it was the 112th Military Intelligence Unit. They were supposed to assist in protecting the president that day and didn't. They were told to stand down. Whatever, all that bullshit. Because if you remember, Joe, it was the military intelligence, specifically the 112th office, who let the Dallas Police Department know exactly who they had just arrested, by the way. They had his background from New Orleans. And that was where the Dallas police got their info from about who they just arrested. Oh, Lee Harvey Oswald. Well, we got a file here on him. Shocker. Ellsworth further advised that he would submit a report incorporating the essentials of the above information relative to Nanti through the proper channels, but that such procedure would entail considerable delay before such a report would reach the San Antonio division of the FBI. Special Agent Stanley Wozniak, resident agent in charge of the 112th, let's call it for what it is, Military Intelligence Division at Fort Hood, Texas, advised Special Agent Charles Smith that he had no info on the indicated reports of the Treasury Department, the Alcohol Tobacco Tax Unit out of Dallas, concerning John Thomas Masen. So now they're saying that, well, we had a file on Oswald, but we ain't got one on this guy yet. Right? John Thomas Masen.
Uh-huh.
Now we do. Now we do. So skipping down a little bit here, it is pointed out that Captain Nanti, who is scheduled for retirement in the summer of 64, in his position as commanding officer of D Company, 123rd Maintenance, would have been in a most advantageous position to obtain such arms and ammunition for disposal through Mason at Dallas, Texas, and further that the 43rd Criminal Investigative Detachment, CID, at Fort Hood, has a large number of reported thefts of various military weapons, among which is the NATO M14 rifle, a highly sought after military weapon because of its firepower. Now, before we get into the leads here, Joe, you got to think. All right, this is post World War II. We're not really at war with anybody, right?
Right.
You got all these surplus weapons laying around. It's pretty tempting for, a guy who's in a pretty good position to be able to partake in. Are they really going to miss a couple hundred of these rifles, Joe?
Right. Maintenance. I mean, you don't know exactly how they, logged these weapons, really. They were probably all just in boxes, you know what I
Yeah, I
mean?
got to take this big truck on a test drive. We just fixed it over here. I got to take this truck over here for a test drive to Dallas. Deliver, deliver some pizza. I mean, weapons. I mean, nothing.
Yeah. And an opportunity, possibly. I mean, Nante was obviously communicating with the FBI, but also an opportunity to make a side hustle, for
Right.
lack of a better
Yeah, he's getting
word.
ready to retire. He wants to be set up good. You know what I mean? Even though he's actually, if they decide to follow through with busting this guy, he's gonna flush his whole career down the toilet.
Right.
No pension. Fuck your retirement, buddy. You're
Right.
out.
Right. But the ATF wants to bust him. He's working with the FBI.
Right.
And they don't both of these parties don't really know this.
Right. So
Uh,
these again, and this is an FBI report. Okay, not an ATT report. So some leads in Dallas, Texas. We'll make an inquiry at the 112th Rio Grande National Building for copies of indicated reports of the expeditiously furnished to San Antonio so that a theft of government property case may be initiated on Nante if warranted. Again, this is an FBI document who Nante was allegedly working with. But they're going to make copies available to the 112th should they decide to prosecute Nante for selling weapons. The FBI is not going to pursue charges. They're letting the military figure out whether or not they're going to pursue charges. Okay, so the FBI is like, hey, we're just kind of backing into the bush like Homer Simpson here,
yeah, right.
Okay.
2 words: plausible deniability.
All right, we are getting the hell out of here right about now. So, in so much as contacts with Captain George Nante at Fort Hood have repeatedly failed to indicate contact. So he has stopped answering the FBI at this point. He's like, stop calling, right? Because the heat is on.
Hmm.
But they still have a little ace up their sleeve named John Thomas Masen, okay, who is also up to his ball sack in hot water for what he's doing in Dallas, right? Who, by the way, if you're trying to shave a little time, off of your charges, you might want to consider handing this guy over on a silver platter to him. Where are you getting all your weapons from, son? Well, sir, actually, Uncle Sam. What?
And you got to imagine, Rob Mason had no idea who Conte was working with.
No, but he knew Nante was part of the military.
Right, but not talking with the FBI.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So a lot of moving parts here.
There is a lot of moving parts here. Now let's get into another moving part here, Joe. Can't make this shit up, folks.
Yeah.
And I thought I saw a comment here we should address. Uh, oh, Lumpkin. Lumpkin and look, there was a lot of DPD officers and sheriff's deputies who were former military intelligence or current military intelligence. Former military, but still technically part of the military intelligence network,
Right.
meaning that they would share information,
Right.
right? So
Right.
Lumpkin certainly fits that bill for sure.
Hmm. Yeah, he doesn't have to be working for them to like have your buddy and go to have a couple beers and share some information.
Yeah, or you have your buddy call you up, hey man, what do you know about this? What do you know about that?
Right.
Okay, here we go.
Here we go.
Oop, wrong button. Right button. Okay. Going back in time a little bit. February 7th, my birthday. Great day.
Oh, great day.
Uh 1964, although that's not my birth date, uh,
Allegedly.
allegedly. Add 10 years to it, and you're there. Uh, so on Valentine's Day in 1964, as Marina is getting boffed in Washington, Mr. Frank Ellsworth, special agent of the ATTU, advised they have obtained a 7-count indictment against John Thomas Masen. He is the subject here for violation of the Federal Firearms Act. Okay? So he's fucked, basically. Mr. Ellsworth has advised that the individual named Farelli or Pirelli
Oh,
resides at 4400 Ivy Drive, Mesquite, Texas, and had been a student at the University of Dallas in Dallas, Texas.
no relation.
No, no, not Borelli, Farelli or Pirelli.
I know, I know.
Now, this is where it gets interesting, Joe. So, John Thomas Mason doesn't want to roll on Nanti, right? So he has this bright idea to come up with something else to give the FBI. Okay. And that is a man that he calls Farelli or Pirelli, okay, who's actually named Fairman Goikichia, Goikiche, Goikache. Okay? If that isn't a goddamn Cuban name, I never heard one. So on February 12th, records of the INS made available by Jeff Woosley reflected their file for Fermin Goikache reflects his last address, blah, 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 blah. He last entered the U.S. at Miami, blah, blah, blah. Born in 41 in Havana, fingerprinted in New York on May 22nd, 63. He originally entered the U.S. at New York in 1960 as a student and attended the RCA Institute on West 4th Street in New York City, where he took a course in advanced electronics technology, Joe.
Wow.
He dropped out on October 5th, 1960. His New York address at this time was 47 East 87th Street. He listed his address as in Cuba as Avenue 33, number 1211, Alt Miramir, Havana, Cuba. So he gave up, Mason did, Fermin Goicoechea, whatever the fuck his name is.
I'm so happy you're reading this one.
But he told him he thinks his name is Farelli or Pirelli or Borelli or some scafuza name.
Some some paisan
Yeah.
or Cuban, I guess.
Yeah. Now we're working backwards here. Some more. Back to George Nante. And the FBI surely knows who this is.
And again, Rob, before you start, we're
Yeah.
talking the. Can you go up a little, very little bit to the title? Neutrality matters
Right.
because they were concerned that these guns were going to Cuban exiles.
Yes.
Yes.
And they were.
and they were, and right wing as well, the extreme right,
Yeah, rightly
allegedly.
so. And you notice it's going straight to the director. They ain't fucking around. It's going straight to Hoover. Okay? So, back to Nante. Was contacted relative to this matter, at which time he advised that he had no contacts with Mason prior to a telephone call from Mason on 12/8/63, which is bullshit. Captain Nante related that he would be in a leave status for a period of approximately 10 days to 2 weeks. Because I'll be at a convention, Joe, in Chicago.
Maybe he was talking to Kleins.
Yeah. Or Old Ruby.
Yeah, that's true.
In so much as subject Mason or Sam G and Khan. Is President
Yeah,
Mason,
he did give an Italian name, right?
yeah. Captain Nante.
No, I mean the what was it, Fortelli?
Oh, the Pirelli.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Borelli.
yeah.
Yeah. So currently, Mason is presently facing prosecutive action in Dallas, and the fact that the subject's residence in Dallas is being requested that the Bureau designated the Dallas Division as Office of Origin in this matter. It will be noted, blah, 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 right? It's the FBI, DOJ, San Antonio, December 11th, 1963. All right. Keep going back to this. This is Nante again telling the FBI that Mason called him asking about, obtaining weapons, explosives, blah, 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 blah. Nante related that Mason indicated that he had sold a German MP-44 rifle to an ATT unit agent whom he believed to be a friend, which had resulted in his arrest. Oopsie.
Oops.
Nante explained that the German MP-44 is a full automatic machine gun type assault rifle. Yeah, that's not one you want to accidentally sell to an ATT agent, Joe.
Nope.
That's like selling an Uzi or something,
Right, and wasn't he skilled at converting semi-auto to auto?
Yeah, he was a very skilled gunsmith, as we'll get to, I promise.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's see. Nante further related that Mason advised he was unable to divulge additional information in his possession, primarily because of the cost in the telephone conversation. Look, we can't really get into it, Joe. I mean, this phone call's already costing me a quarter. Okay, I ain't trying to spend another 5 cents to explain nothing to you. Okay, I'll write you a letter. Okay, but he also said he knew the telephone in his office and possibly the one in his home had been tapped, and that he would write further details in a letter to Nante in the near future. So, maybe he's not so dumb after all. Allegedly. So again, to spare going through this giant 72-page file, okay, as you can see, folks, it is chock full of shit about Mason. Okay, here's one. Here's a letter from John Thomas Mason to George. Hey, bud, or no, dear George, I need prices on a 75. Let me tell you, folks, 75 millimeter is a big fucking rifle. Okay, huge. And he needs a recoilless rifle and tripod. 20 millimeter automatic with base assembly for emplacement, like fixed emplacement, like in the back of a truck type shit, right? 50 cal machine gun with base assembly for fixed emplacement, like
Sheesh.
on the back of a fucking truck, right?
Or yeah, Humvee. Yeah,
Jeep or something.
yeah.
This is some stuff for our friends. Our friends, George. You know who I'm talking about, right? Our friends.
Friends of ours.
Have you talked to Scott about the ammo? I noticed that Sloan's was advertising 8 millimeter again, this time in the American Rifleman. Dr. Reynolds was tickled pink with the book. Damn it. Send me those shells for his gun. You cocksucker. Have you heard any more from the naval Lugers? Let us get on our horse and get something done. I will probably see you in a few weeks, and please got my actions ready. Send me info as soon as possible. Best regards, John. Okay? Yeah. So he's in some hot, hot, hot water.
Yeah.
Okay? And as you'll notice, the dates keep getting a little further and further back, closer and closer to the assassination. Here's a November 9th. Charles Nanti advised that he had been in receipt of a telephone call on the morning of that date from Mason, who inquired if Nanti had knowledge of a large quantity of surplus scrap, in quotes, I'm sure, being offered for sale, which allegedly contained all the components needed to assemble M2 carbines. Captain Nante stated that the M2 carbine parts are prohibitive sale items, meaning we ain't supposed to sell that shit to anybody. We're supposed to destroy it, allegedly.
But for the right price, you never know.
Right. You know, who would miss it, Joe? Who would miss it?
Right.
You can't make this stuff up.
And as you could see via the documents, we are not.
No. It's time after time after. Here we go again. Mason inquired if Nante could produce any of the following, bud. I need some 30 cal machine guns, some 50 cal machine guns, some M1 rifles, submachine guns, as well as any other heavier stuff that would be useful. Explained that he assumed Mason had reference to rocket launchers, grenades, 20 mil guns, and other weapons of a similar nature when he referred to, quote, heavier stuff that would be useful. Yeah. I mean, he's getting into some serious armor
Yeah.
and arms and ammo and rocket launchers and grenades and dynamite. And look who this is a very horrible copy, but you can see a lot of these Cuban names he mentioned here. Rojas, Costello, Julio, Ruiz, Martinez, different National Front of Escambray, Alpha 66 is mentioned. Yeah, our friends.
It just goes on and on.
On and on. So, again, Joe, this whole thing kind of reminds me of something we talked about here before involving David Ferry and, shit. What's the dude's name in New Orleans? There was gun running with Ferry. Oh, man. It's right on the tip of my tongue.
You got me.
Not Wendell. Novell, Gordon Novell.
Okay.
There it is. Yeah, we got into all this stuff with Gordon Novell. They were, they had went and stole a bunch of shit from Schlumberger, ammunition, stuff like that. But this was going on all over the country where some jokers at these various military bases were selling illegal arms, surplus shit, stuff they were told to get rid of. They would sell it on the side hustle. Make money.
Or, Rob, as we're going to get into when I get into my segment, possibly letting Scafuzas steal stuff.
Right. Like, there might be 100 guns in this building over here, what you're looking for, but you ain't hear that from me.
the guards are having dinner or sleeping at this time. They won't be there, or
It'll be
something like that.
$30,000, my friend.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not going to get them for you, but I'll tell you exactly where you can get them with no
Right.
muss, no fuss. I'll even leave the door unlocked for you.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, of course, this operation with Mason did not happen overnight, folks. They were watching him. They were keeping tabs on him. They were running undercover stuff. They were tapping phones. They were putting a case together. Now, unfortunately, their case ended in a clusterfuck with the FBI and the ATT not knowing what the other one was doing, kind of thing. And then the FBI was like, we'll let the military handle it. He's their guy. We're not going to get involved. We're going to step back over here. And then you have this dogged ATT agent named Frank Ellsworth who will not let this shit go. He's following threads, pulling on threads, looking under rocks, kicking over stones, trying to figure out exactly what Mason is doing with all of these weapons and prosecuting him for things along the way. And believe me, there's not enough time here this evening for me to show you all of the arrest reports and charges that John Thomas Masen had gotten into in the 60s. In fact, in 1969, Joe, they pulled his right to legally sell guns, which they probably should have done a long time ago.
Right.
For some reason, let it slip until 1969, meaning that he could not no longer own a gun shop. Okay? I mean, they were charging him with all kinds of crazy shit, like transporting firearms across state lines, when he was basically, like, his customer would bring him, like a Remington shotgun to get fixed. And he would send it off back to Remington in Connecticut, right, to get fixed. And they were charging him with transporting firearms across state lines. Okay. I mean, I'll even show you. You'll love this. So let me back up. So in 69, they were like, all right, you're done with gun shops, bud. So he was like, all right, well, I got a workaround for your ass. I don't need to actually sell them. I'm pretty good at making them and working on them, though. So.
And repairing, right?
Right. So, of course, he had a lot of friends, a network of friends, gun shop owners, things like that. And one of his buddies said, hey, man, you can come set up shop in my gun shop. You do your own thing. You don't have to pay me rent. You can just have your own little repair shop in my, at my place, whatever. I can charge you nothing. Cool. So that's how he was able to circumvent certain things for a while.
Yeah, we'll get there, Mike. Mike, I have an image of Mason in my PowerPoint, and it has quite a resemblance to someone we know.
We'll get there.
You probably have it too, but just in case you don't.
All right. We have here a 1977 case from the Fifth Circuit Court of Appellates, and this is the United States of America versus John Thomas Masen. Okay. Date is March 19th, 1981. Morris Hampton is the counsel for the defendant. David Bickle is the plaintiff attorney. And there's, before a couple circuit court judges here, again, this is an appellate court. John T. Masen, being a person who has previously been convicted of a crime punishable by imprisonment for a term exceeding 1 year. Yeah, folks, he did some time. Was found guilty of knowingly and unlawfully receiving a firearm which had been shipped and transported in interstate commerce. The conviction is challenged correctly on the ground that the evidence was insufficient to show that Mason had received the firearm which had been shipped in interstate commerce. Now, this is what I was telling you about before. In 1976 and 77, Mason worked as a gunsmith in the repair shop, which was part of the gun store, previously called the Sportsman in Dallas. By oral, not anal, agreement with the owner of the gun store, A.J. Reed, Mason was allowed to use the repair shop as a place of business in exchange for services rendered. Reed is a gun appraiser and gun repairman. Mason paid no rent and was not an employee of Reed. He had worked under a similar agreement with the previous owner, Bob Taylor, who had sold the store in May of 1976. All right, so Mason had been doing this shit since 1969 with the previous owner, Bob Taylor, and continued with the new owner, A.J. Reed, where he's working under no rent terms, doing his own thing inside of somebody else's gun store.
Rob, you know what this reminds me of? You know the movie Casino with Robert De Niro, of
Yeah,
course,
yeah.
and how he like couldn't run the casino anymore. So then he became like the food and beverage director or the entertainment director or had all these other jobs and kept switching them
Oh, yeah,
just so he could stay in the casino even though he was really running it.
yeah.
It kind of reminds me of that. And uh, Yulka Luga, I probably butchered that again.
Looka Deluga.
Wasn't Billy Lovelady convicted of facing stolen military equipment? I know it was automatic weapon charges. I don't know if it was stolen or not. I'd have
It was.
to. It was?
It was.
Okay, there
Yeah,
you
I think he
go.
was selling pistols.
He might have got it from Mason.
No, he was stealing from the army or whatever he was in, because they caught up with his ass.
All right.
The FBI did.
Yeah. All right. You continue.
All right. So basically, we get down through here. Mason was convicted on September 10th, 64. Again, there was a laundry list of times this guy was convicted of things for failure to record the sale and delivery of a firearm in violation of 15 USC 903. Again, this is like right when the Warren Report's coming out. September 10th, 64.
Right.
Um,
They don't want any more drama at this point
right.
because you have Oswald possibly with the ammo or allegedly or the Ruby connection with this. You know, you're not trying to rustle more feathers. Pick up any more stones, as you said earlier.
Right. So they're trying again. I told you this is the appellate court. So again, this is in 1981, and they're talking about this in particular, September 10th, 64 conviction to record the sale and delivery of a firearm in violation of blah 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 blah. Now, this is what eventually led to him doing some time and getting his, I guess, gun license revoked. So he's trying to get this reversed. All right. So they bring in a witness, and this guy is named Culp. The defense attorney says, and then several months later it came back, and you don't remember who it came back to or how you got it or whether it was your wife or who handed it to you. Is that right? And he says, that's correct. My wife and I both picked up guns there that were repaired. And then Circuit Judge Coleman is a member of the panel deciding the instant case. He was the author of the opinion in the United States versus Versiglio. So basically, this conviction was overturned.
Convenient.
Yeah. But it took a while.
Yeah, but it's also very rare to get appeals overturned.
Yeah. But like I said, again, it took a very, very long time. So, interesting. And this all leads up to an even bigger web of skafoozery, one that we're going to get into now, and then another one that I'm going to get into tomorrow morning on Quick Hits, live at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on this very YouTube channel with Doug. For tonight, I'm going to hand it off to Joe for the rest of the story, as my old buddy Paul Harvey used to say.
Yes, and because I am special in many different ways, I can tell you, do not miss this Quick Hits. It is going to be a banger.
Yeah, if you think what's coming up next is and it is good, believe me, there's good stuff here. But I'm going to blow your effing socks off tomorrow.
Yes, you are.
Just
You blew mine the other day after the show here.
don't
Let
tell me
me.
about I blew you like that.
Oh shoot! All
We're
right.
supposed to keep that between us.
Sorry, Rob.
And real
All
quick,
right.
because I know a lot of you Scafoozers that are here now will be there in the morning. I do emails on the other show. So if you'd like your email to be read, if you have a question or a comment about anything at all, JFK related, send it to quickhitsjfk@gmail.com. Like, before the morning.
Like soon.
Yes.
All right. Let me share my screen. As I get my usual lag here. All right. Well, first we're going to talk about who was, John Elrod, and essentially,
Yeah, baby.
John. Yeah. Now we're getting into it. So don't scafooze in the comments, guys, because you're gonna have to pay attention.
Yeah, this is where it gets good.
Let me see. All right. John Elrod. John Franklin Elrod was a witness arrested on the day of the JFK assassination and held in a jail near Lee Harvey Oswald, also known as Rob the Fourth.
Tramp.
Yes.
But also, I wanted to point everybody out here as well as to where this arrest took place.
We're going to get there. It's on the next page.
Well, it's right here on this one too, but I just wanted to point out where this arrest was made in the 3400 block of Harry Hines Boulevard. Joe, do you know what else was in the 3400 block of Harry Hines Boulevard?
The railroad tracks?
No.
No, then tell me.
Oh, that would be the gun shop of John Thomas Masen at 3414 Harry Hines Boulevard, bitch.
Wait. What's the difference of the numbers? Say that again.
Where'd your screen go? What are we doing?
I don't know. I didn't do anything. Let me try it again.
I could have sworn John Thomas Masen. Hold on, let me look at his Scafuza arrest report again.
Let me reshare as you do that.
Yeah.
I'm a little laggy here with these PowerPoints. Jesus Christ. Killing me, Smalls. And by the way, I watched The Sandlot last night with my girlfriend for her first time.
I refuse to watch it ever again.
Why?
I found out that the kid I liked in that movie,
Which one?
the red-haired freckled kid.
Yeah, he does these dancing TikTok videos now.
Well, not just that. He's a full-on Scientologist.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
The catcher.
Yeah.
Wow.
He's buddies with Danny Masterson and Ashton Kutcher and all them grapers.
Grapers, grapers, grapers.
Grapers and nerders.
Oh man. All right. I'm resharing here.
Okay, I pulled it back up. All right, so he was arrested in the 3400 block of Harry Hines Boulevard. Okay.
Okay.
John Thomas Mason's gun shop was in the 7400 block of Harry Hines Boulevard. So, right down the street, basically. A couple blocks, what, 3 blocks, 4 blocks?
Probably not far.
Close. Like
Yeah.
out of all the fucking places you could be in Dallas,
Mm-hmm.
you're that close. You get arrested that close to John Thomas Mason's gun shop?
Right. And this is like much more interesting to me than the three tramps and was it Sturgis or was it Hunt or was it, whoever the hell. That's all bullshit, guys. Sorry. This is more interesting to me, personally. You can make up your own minds, of course. This is his arrest report, which is dated on 11/22/63. As you can see here, railroad tracks, which is a problem. This man was arrested on railroad tracks a few minutes after a radio call was dispatched that man was walking along railroad carrying a rifle. This man was not carrying a rifle at time of arrest. The suspect is unemployed, states he has been in Dallas for 2 weeks, lost his job last week at El Phoenix, states he has been arrested for theft and DUI. And Rob, I would say that's a problem.
Yeah. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but wasn't there, or maybe I'm thinking of a different Mexican restaurant, there was a guy that looked like Oswald seen in a red, like Thunderbird
Correct.
behind the El Phoenix, but the car had like one of Tippett's buddies that worked at Collins Radio's license plates on it.
Was that Mathers?
Yeah, Carl Mathers.
Yeah, but that was like way after the Tippett shooting.
No, it was like right at the time.
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's not that far. But I thought it was like in the evening, but no?
No.
Okay. All right. So now we're going to get to these. We're going to get to how. I'm going to kind of weave back into Rob's topic here. Who was Lawrence Miller and Donnell Witter?
I can tell you who they're not.
Who were they not?
White guys. No, I'm joking.
They definitely sound like white guys.
They definitely don't sound like white guys.
Really?
You know any white guys named Donnell Witter? Donnell Darius Witter?
I was looking at the last names, but I don't know.
Lawrence Reginald Miller.
Okay, that's true.
Come on, man.
Come on, man. All right. First, Lawrence Reginald Miller arrested with Donnell Darius. Okay. I take it back. Winter at Gaston and Hall, Texas, Dallas, Texas, and held as suspects in theft of military weapons from National Guard Armory near Terrell, Texas. And we're going to get to Terrell, I promise.
Again, it's another one of them things where, there's military weapons from National Guard Armory that maybe the door got left unlocked at, Joe?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Who are you going to have do that stuff? Sorry, I digress. Or who would you send to do that stuff? Allegedly, allegedly,
Only the best.
yeah, identified by John Elrod's cellmate, LHO in question marks, 11/22/63, as one of the five men who met at a motel several days prior to the assassination. Jack Ruby was supposedly one of the five. This is from Mary Farrell, of course, as you could see if you're watching. And we, of course, have heard of the what's the name of that motel? I can't remember, but the one Marita Lorenz said that was, they went to.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Now we go to Donnell Dadius Whittier, arrest report, Dallas Police Department, 11/18/63. There are newspapers articles about it, and of course, the LaFontaines wrote a 4,700-page article on these guys. The record is being withheld, 14 pages, agency file. That'd be interesting to request at the archives. Date of birth, 1920, was with Lawrence Miller as a passenger when arrested and held on suspicion of robbing a National Guard armory near Terrell, Texas. Has been attendant at a VE Morales, Texaco service station and had waited on Jack Ruby. And this is going to be important, folks. This is another document. It mentions Marita Lorenz. John Elrod told the FBI that his cellmate and an injured prisoner in the jail caught with guns met with Ruby in a motel room days before the assassination. Source: Warren Commission files. Then you have John Thomas Masen brokering military weapons between Army Ordnance Officer Captain George Nante, of course, Cuban exiles, and right wing groups. Also, brokering info that invasion of Cuba set for the end of November. Source: newly released documents.
Yeah.
So you could see how, like, a bunch of different, uh, you know, objectives are kind of colliding here. Miller and Whittier arrested November 18th, both injured in car chase.
And who was chasing them, Joe? And who arrested them?
I don't know.
Frank Ellsworth.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
I assumed it was DPD. Found with military weapons from Armory in Terrell, Texas. Links to Ruby. Miller worked for McCord's. Ruby knew McCord's. Rob, who's McCord's? Can you remind me?
I honestly don't know.
I don't either. Witter serviced Ruby's car, so he was literally Ruby's car mechanic.
Yeah.
Miller, that might have been the name of the shop. Miller, ATF believed that Miller and Witter, working with Mason, Witter met with Cheek. That's an interesting nickname. On the 18th,
Well, you missed number 4. Miller died in an apartment owned by Bertha Cheek.
I did, but
that was the sister of Earlene Roberts, Oswald's landlady at the rooming house. And Jack Ruby had spoke to Bertha Cheek on many occasions about investing in different properties, if you will.
Wow. I only skipped it because when I was doing my research, I saw that it was like 20 or 30 years after. But yeah, that is interesting. Ruby met with Colonel Sam Baker from Terrell Armory on November 19th. So Ruby might be concerned because we're going to get into Terrell in a second. Ruby visits bondsman and attorney on November 19th, that same day after arrest of Miller, Witter, On November 18th, Mason arrested November 20th for possession of military weapons, bonds out. So, Rob, I am going to contend with your theory or what your statement earlier. He was arrested on the 20th and he was rearrested on the 22nd. Or, I
No,
believe.
he was arrested on the 20th and he bonded out, and he went to court on December 13th. The case report that I showed, um,
Oh, that was Elrod. Okay. Yeah.
yeah, you're thinking of Elrod was arrested on the 22nd.
Okay. I'm sorry.
No,
So,
so the backstory, real quick.
yeah.
I think we're missing something here, but the backstory, real quick, with Elrod. He claims to have been Oswald's cellmate for a short period of time. And we're not talking like days or nights or anything. I'm talking about hours. Um, at that time, the Dallas jail was a little crowded.
Right.
Okay, so, you generally had to share a cell with somebody at least for a short period of time, and they were pulling Oswald in and out of the cell all day long to talk to him or fingerprint him or put him in a lineup or whatever. So he's in and out sometimes, but at least one of the times they had stuck him in there with John Elrod.
Right.
Allegedly, at least that's what John Elrod says. It was in cell 4, number 4, is what he says. And we know
Right.
Oswald was held in cell 4 for a period of time, so it's possible. And what he said is that um, basically that his cellmate and an injured prisoner in the jail, meaning Oswald and one of the guys with the fucked up face, which I believe was Miller.
Miller was in Parkland, actually. Yes.
Yeah, but by the 22nd, he was back in jail.
Okay.
Yeah, he was back in jail. And Oswald allegedly told Elrod that he had been in a motel room with that guy and Jack Ruby just days before the assassination. Allegedly. Pray continue.
All right. Excuse me. Mason arrested. We already saw that. Military weapons. And we're going to see a video of this actually in a second if you want to get that ready, Rob, before I go to my next. It's ready. You're on it. And Miller Witter, represented by attorney May, related to McClendon, friend of Ruby. John Thomas Mason looked like Oswald, and we're going to have that picture. HSCA photo missing Mason, one of two gun dealers with Western cartridge 6.5 ammo. Still classified, the 14-page statement by Witter to the HSCA, withdrawn by the NSA. NSA.
Yeah. So now we're deep into the shits.
Yeah. There's a lot of shit going on here, guys. But one point before I read this is in regards to Elrod. We just saw his arrest and his Dallas police, day of arrest affidavit, if you will, by the railroad tracks. We know that he was in the jail that day. So it's not like it's James Files claiming I was in the cell with Oswald, right?
Right. And we've all seen the footage. We've shown it here on the show before. I think Hard Copy tracked him down back in the 90s. He was living on an island in the middle of the Mississippi River. Okay. He did not want to talk to anybody. He was very reluctant to talk to them on camera, but figured, all right, the cat's out of the bag now. Let me do this, because the LaFontaine's book was out. And they got him on camera, and he explained exactly what we're going to get into here. So go ahead, Joe.
Yeah. So now we're going to fast forward a little bit to April 1964. This is the City of Dallas Department. And by the way, there is nothing, if you search DPD, Texas Deportal History, on Witter at all, or Miller. No arrest reports. So I found that.
Because they were arrested by the ATT.
Oh, okay, that's true. Good point.
Yeah,
That's what I
I'll
keep
make one
hearing.
occasionally.
Check of garages and service stations patronized by Jack Ruby. Dear sir, several days ago I was contacted by Mr. Vince Drain of the Federal Bureau of Investigation regarding a check of garages and service stations patronized, right, by Jack Ruby. Patronized is a different meaning, I believe. On April 5th, Lieutenant E.L. Cunningham contacted four such places, which, from papers found in Ruby's car, indicated he might have patronized. A copy of Lieutenant Cunningham's report is enclosed. Donnell D. Whittier, named in the enclosed report, formerly worked at the Texaco service station. Clarendon and Ewing serviced Ruby's car when he came to the station. As you will recall, and they spell Whittier differently here, by the way, which is interesting.
Yeah.
Whitter was arrested by officers of this department on November 18th, 1963, at which time two machine guns and two Browning automatic rifles were recovered, which had been taken in a burglary of the National Guard headquarters at Terrell, Texas. Keep that in mind, Terrell, Texas. Again, according to our records, he was convicted in federal court and is now serving time for this offense. Very truly yours, M.W. Stevenson, Deputy Chief Commanding Officer, Criminal Intelligence Division of the DPD. So, Rob, why don't you show what Mr. Whitter? These guys are screwing me up. Whitter was arrested with here, because it's not something I think you buy at a gun store. Maybe in '63 you could. I don't know. It seems very military like.
Yeah. So check this out, folks. Shit, hold on.
Yeah.
Gotta share my screen first. All right, here we go. There is no sound. But check this out. There's plenty of visuals. A very despondent. Why are you looking at me like that, mister? I ain't got no teeth, man.
Just narrate, yeah.
Do I look like Lee Harvey Oswald to you?
Like you said, they all kind of looked alike.
Right? Look at that. Those are straight military grade weapons, folks.
Those are machine guns. Those are, I don't know. Those are military grade.
That is some shit you bolt into the back of a Toyota and roll through Mexico with it. You know what I mean? Look at that grease gun. So yeah, these were legit military weapons. No joke.
Nope. And one of the things you and I had talked about was when Whitter and Miller were busted on the 18th, as you could see right there. Did they turn
And then,
on your
what happens? John Thomas Masen gets busted 2 days later.
on Mason? Right.
Imagine that. And for all those out there with questions, I will tell you this. So I know Dallas police like to take credit for this bust. How it worked was the office of the ATTU didn't really have an office in Dallas. Frank Ellsworth had a desk at the Dallas Police Department. He had his own like little office there in the Dallas Police Department. So when they say we busted this guy, they mean we collectively busted this guy. But as you can see, he was prosecuted in federal court because it's a federal crime, right? That's why they
Yeah.
had the evidence at the DPD. They're showing it off. Ellsworth is not on camera. He's not going to be on camera. They're letting the DPD take credit for the bust, and then allegedly they turn him over to the Fed.
And that's a good point because then that's probably why there's not a DPD arrest report of these two
Right.
guys on the 18th.
Yeah, there's not one. No.
No. So, if you want to put the PowerPoint back up, so
Yes, sir.
of course. All right. So, a lot of people were trying to figure this out for a long time, including the ARB. This is an internal email and document, and I actually contacted a friend of the show, Andrew Eiler, today and said, "Who is Brian Rosen?" Because I mean, who the hell would know what Brian Rosen is, who he is, except Andrew Eiler? Well, he was an associate lawyer for the ARB. Following is a summary of what we know about John Thomas Masen and George Charles Nante Jr. and their gun running activities and the subsequent investigations of those activities in Dallas around the time of the assassination. I have also included a list of outstanding questions and issues relevant to the potential upcoming interview with Coyle. So this is August 96, right? Right? Like middle of ARB-ish. Or maybe a little beginning.
Yeah,
Or,
towards the end.
yeah. John Thomas Masen, Dallas gun dealer, likely member of the Minutemen, a right-wing paramilitary organization. He was one of two gun dealers in Dallas that sold the type of Mannlicher Carcano 6.5 millimeter ammunition allegedly used in the assassination. George Charles Nante Jr., the chief ordnance officer at Fort Hood in Killeen, Texas, the site of several armed thefts in 1963.
How convenient.
He was a leading firearms expert and authored many books on guns. Coyle, the warrant officer for the Dallas Regional Office of the 112th Intelligence Corps Group. He was head of the group's security section and also worked at maintaining liaison relationships with other investigative agencies in the area. And look who you have here, James Hosty, the FBI agent in charge of the Bureau's file on Lee Harvey Oswald. He was also assigned to work on the Bureau's investigation of John Thomas Masen.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah, fine, man.
Frank Ellsworth, the ATF agent assigned to investigate John Thomas Masen for possible violation of federal firearm laws. John Elrod, the, quote, fourth tramp, end quote, arrested in Dallas on November 22nd. We went through that. He claims to have spoken to Oswald in the Dallas City Jail in the afternoon of his arrest. So the ARB's still trying to figure this out.
Yeah, because Elrod can tie Oswald and Ruby to Witter and Miller, tangentially to Mason and Ruby, and it gets to be a whole big spider web here.
Correct. We're going down the hole, guys. Donnell Witter, arrested by the FBI and DPD on November 18th. Notice how they give them both credit. 63 for driving a car that was transporting stolen weapons that we just saw. He was also a local mechanic and had previously worked on cars for Jack Ruby, plural, pluracy. Lawrence Miller, arrested with Witter. He was still being held in Dallas City Jail on November 22nd, 63. The story. Ellsworth was, this is like a summary. Ellsworth was actively investigating Masen for the ATF in the fall of 63 for violations of federal firearms laws. In the course of his undercover contacts with Mason, Ellsworth learned that Nantes was Mason's weapons source inside Fort Hood. Ellsworth shared this information with Army and FBI criminal investigators at Fort Hood and continued to prepare a case against Mason. However, the FBI was interested in using the Mason Nantes relationship for a different purpose. Hence,
Hmm.
hence what we were talking about before. The Bureau viewed Mason as a valuable source on anti communist exile operations in Cuba. So, you have the ATF trying to stop the flow of arms, right? As is their, job. And you have the FBI doing like their little counterintelligence purpose operations, right? So you can see where this gets extremely
Yeah.
complicated.
So Mason is considered to be the plug, if you will, for the anti-Castro Cuban exile right-wing groups in Dallas. He's the guy that can get you the weapons,
Hmm.
and they all knew it. The FBI would, of course, love to co-opt that dude, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, of course. And that's where you get back to the Cuba heading and the Neutrality Act headings in these memos.
Oh yeah,
It's starting to make sense. No,
oh yeah.
all right, we're figuring this out because believe me, guys, I have not either. Um, This is another memo of the ARB 2 months later, right? We're talking August, September, October, maybe close to 3 months later. Um, Thank you for your letter. Per your request, I have enclosed a copy of FBI document number dated. I put in this RIF number, by the way, and it did not come up on Mary Farrell. Dated December 1, 1966. We do not have arrest records of Danelle Witter and Lawrence Miller. Thank you for your continued interest in the work of the board. Sincerely, Aline Sullivan. So, 96. This is still being like swept under the rug,
Yeah.
which is a problem, Rob, to me.
Yeah. Roy Schaefer was an early JFK researcher. Kind of went off the rails along the same path as Jim Fetzer at some point.
Oh, really? I didn't know.
Starting
I didn't know.
Oswald in the doorway and the limo stop and all this other nonsense. But at one time, he was a respected researcher.
Okay. So now we're going to go to a little section of Someone Would Have Talked by our good friend Larry Hancock. Sometime during the evening of November 13th,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we're talking 5 days before these guys were arrested after a car chase. 63, the Ordnance Maintenance Shop of the National Guard Armory, and I wonder who was.
Well, Nante was in charge of the ordnance maintenance shop.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Was robbed of the following 9 weapons: 4 30 caliber rifles. I believe this is probably in your document. 2 30 caliber automatic rifles, 2 30 caliber light machine guns, 1 45 caliber submachine gun. A summary of the robbery investigation concluded that the robbery was essentially a crude break-in to a building with poor construction and no alarm system. Quote, the thieves had gained entrance to the building through the front door. Goes back to what we talked to, Rob, right?
Yeah, we'll leave the front door. I'll knock for you.
After having first tried a window, placed a steel bar under the door and moved it up and down until they were able to remove the hinge pins. Well, I guess they tried a little bit, but yeah. The thieves then entered the office through an open screen door. There you go. With an axe and other tools found in the shop, they broke a night latch type lock which secured a metal covering door in the strong room. and that is sourced with documents. The military, the
Real quick,
military,
Joe, before
yeah.
go back real quick, last one.
Hmm.
So again, Nante was the ordnance maintenance shop manager at Fort Hood, right? And
Hmm.
this was at the ordnance maintenance shop of the National Guard Armory at Terrell, Texas. These are two different places. But the common thread here is the ordnance maintenance shop. If you think the ordnance maintenance manager at Fort Hood wouldn't know the ordnance maintenance manager at the National Guard Armory in Terrell, Texas, and cut him in on some kind of a deal as well. Look, this is the big network of these fucking people, man. Because the
Yeah.
ordnance maintenance people were in charge of all the surplus weapons, and they were in charge of getting rid of or destroying obsolete weapons. So these are the guys who found themselves in very precarious positions, and some of them were dirty, and some of them probably weren't. But I'm sure
Right.
for side money, especially when you talk about 30 grand, a 30 grand payday for George Nante, uh, probably wasn't nothing to sneeze at back then.
Right. And you really don't know how much influence Norte could have had over this National Guard armory, right? If you think they're shipping weapons back and forth or whatever, right?
Well, I'm sure you called the guy and was like, hey, this is what I need to be in your shop. We're going to break in. We're going to, make it look like a robbery. I'll cut you in for 5 grand.
Right. And who knows what beliefs that guy had, right? We just don't know right now. Um, um, the military police investigation report of the incident makes it clear that the facility robbed was that of the Texas National Guard headquarters company and describes the arrest of the thieves Whittier. Again, this spelling is throwing me off. Witter and Miller in Dallas. Two of the Terrell automatic rifles and two machine guns were recovered. So they're saying they recovered the exact guns that were stolen from this National
Yeah.
Guard's
You
headquarters.
just saw a video of them,
Correct.
obviously.
Right.
Yeah.
The other four rifles were not. As of November 27th, Witter was in Parkland Hospital for injuries sustained in a car accident during the arrest in Dallas. Miller, who had suffered extensive facial lacerations, was in a Dallas County jail. So they're talking about November 22nd. 7th, not the 2nd. These guns were in Dallas because although Mason had arranged for them to be delivered to undercover agent Ellsworth, the lack of interagency coordination had blown the ATF sting. So the intermediary who was to transfer the guns to Ellsworth was never apprehended. And one of those two cars involved in the transfer got away, while the Thunderbird with Witter and Miller inside did not. John Mason was off the hook until, in frustration, Ellsworth had him arrested for possession of dynamite on November 20th. Mason was out on bail the next day, but would be back in on the 22nd. So there's a lot of moving
He
parts
was
going.
in jail on the 22nd.
Later investigations would turn up the fact that Wooder happened to be the serviceman who personally attended to Ruby's car. In fact, it seems at least possible that Ruby himself may have played a minor role in the Terrell weapons theft. It is even right when you consider his connection with Witter. It is possible that one of Ruby's friends within the DPD, now we're going back to the 112, arranged for the tip that helped blow the ATF sting. And uh, I cut off the rest because I don't think it was that relevant. But that is, when you think about it, if someone in the 112th, we know what Ruby's relationships were with the DPD, um, tipped him off, and he had some minor role in this. And again, this is Larry Hancock talking. I'm just reading him, and you know, people's research who are much smarter than I am, um, tipped him off to this National Guard thing. If not Conte, or if not all of them combined, it makes sense.
Yeah.
John Thomas Mason, one of the more interesting gun dealers in Dallas, was rumored to be connected to the Minuteman as a weapon source for right wing buyers of many sorts. He was suspected of reworking semi automatic weapons to full automatic firing and all trafficking and controlled explosives. Because of these reports, ATF agent Ellsworth began an investigation of Mason. We know all this. I tracked this fellow undercover through another man for several months before I actually met him. I think this began somewhere in the summer of 1963. I believe it was August. When I finally made contact with him, I led him to believe I was a crook. He claimed to have done some arms smuggling in and out of Mexico, but not when I was dealing with him. Ellsworth was not aware that Mason was already the object of another undercover inquiry, one in which military intelligence and the FBI were pursuing an offer from Mason to disclose information about an upcoming Cuban exile attack on Cuba. Here we go back to the Neutrality Act drama that was going on. That investigation had begun on October 24th, 63, when George Nante, an Army Ordnance officer at Fort Hood, Texas, had reported an offer from Mason to sell such information. Nante was very well known as an arms enthusiast and expert, just like Mason, and had been engaged in starting up a business with Mason. Nante had previously exchanged ammunition with Mason, who in turn had rebarreled weapons for him. A lot of skafoozery going on here.
Yeah. Now you mentioned a second invasion of Cuba scheduled for the end of November.
Yes.
And I believe that this was somewhat floated out there by the CIA through JFK and all these other anti-Castro Cuban exile groups, as being kind of a second Bay of Pigs invasion type of thing, but better this time,
Right.
allegedly.
Right. Right.
Better plan, better armed, better, more people. And a lot of these groups were trying to get ready and get geared up for this shit, right? Now, I think the kibosh got put on this by the CIA. They were like, nah, we need to call it off. We need to call it off. It's not happening. It's not happening. And they put the word out through all these groups. And that, again, pissed off a lot of these anti-Castro Cuban exile groups who really wanted to get out there and do something about Castro.
Mm-hmm.
And again, the frustration is bubbling. And now it's bubbling in Dallas.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And yeah. And especially when you consider Salvat's.
We'll get there.
Okay. Sorry, I'm jumping the gun. With his retirement coming up in a little over a year, Nante was talking with Mason, Leroy Barker, a Dallas chemist, and James Melton, another Dallas gun shop owner, about chemical compounds to be developed for commercial sale by a company, then in development by Nante, Mason, and Barker, called Black Hawk Chemicals. And that is
AKA explosive chemicals. They're going to make their own dynamite.
During the
other explosives.
Yeah. During the October 24th call to Nante, Mason floated the question of whether or not there would be a buyer for information on an upcoming attack on Cuba. Nante appears to have immediately notified the 112th Army Military Intelligence of this, and the 112th reported that to the FBI. Sourced. From that point on, Nante was requested to stay in touch with and cultivate Mason in order to get additional details of that operation and names of the source of the information. Nante did so over a period of several weeks, eventually meeting with Cuban exiles who were attempting to put together a weapons purchase with Mason. But I think, like you said, Rob, he eventually, Mason, kind of went dark, if you will, but I don't know for how long.
Well, the heat was on in November for Mason, but he had been given a grocery list, if you will, some of which I read earlier, given to him by certain anti-Castro Cuban exile groups, who at this point shall remain nameless till tomorrow. But when you hear the groups or the group that gave him the shopping list, who were very interested in putting something together for this upcoming attack on Cuba, you will understand, and everything will make sense. Dots will be connected. You'll be like, holy shit, what the hell? Yeah, it gets crazier and crazier and crazier.
It does. I'm not going to give anything away because Rob will cut my head off. But it blew my mind the other night. Craziness. And if you've been paying attention, you'll be able to guess this. And if you're paying attention now, you might be able to get this.
Real quick, Joe. Real quick. Mr. Mixter1 says, what is the Quick Hits email address? It is quickhitsjfk@gmail.com. It is also in the description of this video if you open it up. I try to make it easy for you folks.
Yeah. We can only do so much for you guys. We can only give you the pass. You got to make the dunk, the slam dunk, right? Alley-oop. Mason's initial exile contact was Joaquin.
Skip this.
Okay. On November 7th, I want to make sure I'm not going on.
Well, I already read about this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. These newly released reports show that Nante and Fort Hood proved to be no use to Mason in his quest for arms. Not 100% I agree with that. We also know Mason did come up with a set of weapons to sell Ellsworth and the ATF. He managed to find someone who could steal them from a small National Guard repair facility, but his sources ran into a little delivery issue. So we know who Larry is alluding to here, right? The two scafoozles fools we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're saying he's saying they didn't get them from Nante, they got them from the National Guard facility.
And to help you folks read between the lines, the other person in the other car that got away was John Thomas Masen, who was going to be brokering the deal between these two scafoozles and Ellsworth undercover. And that's why Ellsworth was pissed and busted his ass for dynamite.
Yeah. I mean, listen, he was arrested a couple days later, right? So
yeah.
Although he did get away temporarily.
Yes.
Yeah. I want to do one more thing. Rob, on the left, John Thomas Masen, 1958. Yeah. This is 18 years old. I guess it's his high school yearbook photo. On the right, of course, our dear friend Lee Harvey Oswald. Bro. What are your thoughts?
Well, they're both goofy looking as hell. But I don't think they look that much alike.
I kind of disagree with you there. So there's some conjecture as if did Elrod mistake Mason on the 22nd in jail for Oswald?
Well, that's possible. But I mean, again,
I've
it's easier to
read
mistake
that.
somebody. I mean, if you put these guys side by side, like the picture, you can clearly see they don't look anything alike. But if you're remembering, a guy with a receding hairline, I mean, Oswald had blue or gray eyes. This guy's got brown eyes. The ears are way different.
Right, but
At a glance,
Elswald, Elrod is also like an alcoholic scafuza.
right? Yeah,
So I mean, who knows,
but
right?
it's also not out of the realm of possibility that Oswald was the roommate or
Correct,
was the cellmate. But it could have been Mason.
correct.
Yeah,
I mean, there's no way to know.
yeah. You just don't know. Elrod could have thought Mason was Oswald.
Yeah, I think that's like
And just to correct this, I don't know who labeled this thing, but
I don't know.
that's actually from Mexico City on the right, the Oswald picture that he got for his Cuban visa application.
Oh, right.
That's
Okay.
not age 19 Oswald from Moscow. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
That
Okay. Yeah.
that's
That's it.
age 24 or however old he was in 1963.
That's a good point. I got that somewhere from online. I should have double checked that. But you could take that off. But I'm saying there's a resemblance,
Yeah.
and you could see why some drunk scafuza in jail could. And listen, I mean, Elrod didn't go to. I have this here on my other thing. He didn't go to. He walked on August 11th, 1964. A very troubled Elrod walked into a Shelby County jail in Tennessee and told officers a story that had been on his mind since November 22nd.
Yes.
So we're talking a year later,
Yes.
almost.
Now he's a scafuza. He walks into the police or the FBI place, right?
Yeah,
Drunk
probably.
and with weapons, and proceeds to tell them the story.
Yeah.
So they arrest him because he's a scafuza. You don't walk drunk into an FBI office with a sawed-off shotgun in your bag. Probably not the best of ideas,
uh,
but we've all done dumb shit in the past, right?
yeah, that is true. So, all right, sir.
All this was deep six, man. I mean, none of this came out until the 90s.
Right. I mean, the art was trying to figure it out, as I showed you, and yeah, man. And whether it was because of the possible Oswald Ruby connection, or whether it was just because they're trying to.
Again, this fantastic story is in this book that I reviewed last week called Oswald Talk, The New Evidence in the JFK Assassination by Ray and Mary LaFontaine. The whole Elrod story is in here. The Witter Miller incident is in here. There's a great thing with Father McCann and Sylvia Odio in here. I mean, this book is chock full of good shit that has been overlooked for a lot of years. It probably needs to be relooked at.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
Real quick, Joe, let me show everybody this. I mean, they did not stop with this dude, this poor bastard, John Thomas Masen. This poor guy could not catch a break, bro. Let me see if this is the right thing. Yeah. So now we're in December of 64, December 15th. All right. Alleged Klan participation in insurrection plot. Racial matters. Okay. So these informants, whoever these people are, Dallas 16S, Dallas 20S, and Dallas 215R were contacted by Special Agent Wheel and was contacted by Special Agent Wood. These sources, who were previously alerted to immediately advise if any information came to their attention to substantiate the rumors concerning the Klan groups in Alabama and Mississippi acting under the direction of Major General Edwin A. Walker in bringing about an insurrection, advised they had no information indicating that John Thomas Masen, the unnamed organization of Dallas, Texas patriots, or the National Indignation Convention might be involved in this alleged insurrection plot. So now the FBI is sniffing around Walker. He'd already been in trouble for an insurrection in the past in Mississippi. Now they're worried he's going to do something else, and that John Thomas Masen is involved as well. They're trying to, now they're putting Mason with Walker and attaching him to the Minutemen, the Klan.
Right. Well, he was alleged to be a Minuteman or part of the Minutemen, right?
Right. Advised he never received any information to indicate that Mason or the above groups were ever affiliated with any Klan groups or that they were racial in origin or purpose. A review of the Dallas files on Mason and the two organization mentions in reference reveals the following. That organization was formed by Frank McGehee in Dallas in October of 1961 to protest the bringing to the United States pilots, mechanics, and other personnel from Yugoslavia for training. You keep them goddamn Slavs out of our country. We don't want them. Any available information indicated that the John Birch Society in Dallas was the prime mover behind the National Indignation Convention, and that most leading members of the latter organization were also members of the John Birch Society. The National Indignation Convention also indicated in 1962 that they would attempt to defeat all members of the U.S. Congress who voted in favor of foreign aid to Yugoslavia or them Polacks over there in Poland. So, yeah, there's that. They were up Mason's ass throughout the 60s. And they finally succeeded in getting him behind bars for a period of time in the 60s. Yes. Mm-hmm. They managed to ruin his professional life, but he found a loophole around it. Mm-hmm. And he managed to live until last November of 2025, folks. Whew. He finally passed away at the ripe old age. Whatever 2025 minus 1941 is. $86? Sounds about right.
91? 25 minus 175 plus.
We are not math professors, but we did play one on YouTube.
I used to be better at doing this in my head, but
Mike says 84, so we'll go with that.
Okay, there we go.
He is a library man. He would know better than us.
Yes, 84. Yes. All right.
I was close. 86.
So, man.
But, folks, there's so much more. Again, I showed you one file that is 72 pages long on John Thomas Masen. Joe, I have 5 more files that are anywhere from 70 to 90 pages long on John Thomas Masen that we didn't even get into tonight, that we're going to save until next week for members only. And we probably are not going to get into all of it there either.
We definitely won't.
But trust me when I tell you, there's a lot more on this dude. And I believe that he's slipped through the cracks and not really been looked at. I mean, he's been looked at by some, but you really have to go in and start pulling threads and connecting dots with this dude. Yeah, you can state the obvious. He's a gun runner. He might be has ties to Ruby, who has ties to these other two Scafoozas that got busted. Who did Elrod see? Was it Mason or Oswald in jail? Who knows? All I know is that cash is king, Joe.
That is true.
And the people will do just about anything for a shit pile of money, whether it be steal guns from the country you serve to sell on the black market, or to buy guns off the black market to sell to anti-Castro Cubans to go kill a communist dictator in another country.
Or to lie, or to sell out your friends.
Yeah. Money, money, money. Follow the money. They always say follow the money. But you can see how things were getting a little twisted and intricate and intertwined. You know, you've got the FBI over here doing one thing, you've got the ATF over here doing another, and they're mixed in with the DPD, and everything gets all twisted
And the
because,
112.
yeah, because, now, Ellsworth is undercover. He doesn't want to be outed as the guy who's busting these folks. He wants to stay anonymous. So he lets the DPD take credit for this bust, but behind the scenes, they're really like, okay, 112th, you guys handle Nante. Ellsworth's like, all right, I'm gonna fuck this guy Mason up for the rest of his life. I'm gonna chase his ass. And I mean, they were busting this guy left and right for the dumbest, littlest shit ever, and trying to entangle him into all kinds of other crazy stuff,
Right.
like you just saw about possible insurrections with General Walker. It don't get any crazier than that.
Right.
So, but apparently, this guy lived, Joe, a long ass life. I want to see if I have this. I want to see if I have this picture of the man in his elderly ages. I don't, but I can get it right quick.
Okay.
Here we go.
And here we go.
Here we go. All right, let me share my screen. This is cool. All right. This is John Thomas Masen at his 76th birthday party. Loving life. Shirt unbuttoned down to his nipples. 2 thumbs up. Probably high as hell. Happy as hell.
Wow.
Yeah. John Thomas Masen, folks. Lived a long, happy life.
Yeah.
Long, happy life.
His grandkids are probably out there somewhere.
There's another picture here. This is his obituary. Born in Dallas, Texas, blah, blah, blah. He attended the University of Houston and Sul Ross State on a boxing scholarship. So he was a scrapper, Joe. He could box.
Wow.
John began his career as a gunsmith and later founded the John Masen Company and ASC Investment Casting Company. John went home to be with our Lord on November 23rd, 2025. He was preceded in death by his grandparents, his parents, and his son, sadly, Christopher Ryan Masen. He's survived by his wife, Linda, and his 4 daughters, Wanda, Melanie, Jonna, and Dawn. Along with their spouses, he is survived by 9 grandchildren, 3 great-grandchildren. So it's a lot there.
Yeah. You're right, South to West. He was balling out at his birthday party.
Yeah, there was another picture.
And thank you very much, Mike, saying excellent show, fellas.
Yeah,
That's what we like to do.
I got another photo of him here. This is him, I'm guessing, with his
grandchildren,
his wife and grandchildren, or great-grandchildren, one of the two.
Sorry for DOXXINEing them. I'm just kidding. It doesn't matter.
It's all public information. I'm not
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I know.
accessing
I know.
the database,
I know. I'm joking.
you know. But yeah. So, like I said, he lived a long life, long, healthy life.
You know what? Sally had a great comment. He did live a long life. We need a "That's a Problem" merch T-shirt.
That's a good
Don't
idea, Sally.
don't give Rob any more ideas. He's gonna
Oh
have
no, that's a good
more.
one.
That is a good one, Sally. Um,
I'm picturing it in my head already.
Here we go.
We're gonna get the pose ready of Rob going with a little thought bubble. That's a problem. Oh boy. All right, folks. That's gonna do it for tonight. 2 hours of deep dive and research into John Thomas Mason just for you folks. So please, if you enjoy this show, hit the like button, the thumbs up on your way out. We'd appreciate it. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe if you enjoyed it. We've had over 50 people in here at any time all night long. So thank you so much for enjoying the show, staying and hanging out. Tomorrow morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, you will get a rest of the story of tonight. I'm going to go more in depth on John Thomas Masen and his connections to the anti-Castro groups in Dallas. And trust me, you're not going to want to miss this one. There's a ton of good information that your boy is going to be bringing you. We're going to be bringing the heat tomorrow morning. And Doug's got some stuff on Vesiana and Alpha 66. And all kinds of good stuff else in store. While Joe is tracking down Ruby, the damn dog. Thank you, Fiddle Folk. We appreciate it. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, South to West. Thank you, Will. Thank you, Sally, Tiny, Mike, all you guys. South to West. You guys rule. Appreciate you hanging in there with us. Claude and Aunt Udine, of course. There is Ruby. And here is
for the record, but he said, come to Bourbon Street and I'll
Dino
show you
Andrews.
the case.
Ruby.
Sorry, she ran away.
Ruby.
Hi, Robbie.
Hey, Ruby. That's going to do it for tonight. Remember, Quick Hits in the Morning, part 2 for members only, next week. And it, I believe, I think, allegedly, it's the last Wednesday of the month next week. On Wednesday, Joe, I think.
Good night.
Shit.
I could be
Already?
wrong.
No, you're wrong.
I'm wrong. Never mind. It's going to be for covert operators of the book. But if you're not already a covert operator and you'd like to become or upgrade your membership, feel free to do so. You won't regret it. There's a shit ton of members-only shows that you've missed along the way in the past 2 years. Trust me, there's like 100 of them over there that you've missed. If you haven't been a member, if you like this show, then by God, you'll love all the shows you've missed. We do not phone it in on members-only night either.
No. And by the way, our last 2 days ago, our members only show was absolute fire. I had to take a cold plunge after that one. Woo!
Yes. We took everything that Bart brought and we went even deeper into the cold Baltic waters of the Black Sea. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
You'll enjoy my geography lesson. I know Paula enjoyed it. Look, a lot of people might know the difference between Sweden and Switzerland and where they are on a map. I didn't. Okay. And I went to college for 2 years, then dropped out. But I should be smarter than what I am, but I didn't pay much attention. So it's always good to have a visual aid, to see where these countries are. But anyway, I digress. I'll shut the hell up. For Joe, Borelli, I am Big Bad Bob, and I'll see you in the morning for Quick Hits. Me and Doug live here on YouTube, 10 a.m. Be there, damn it. You're not going to want to miss it. And then
No.
members only next week, book review, rambling research, ramblings with Rob, random research. Well, I can't even say the name of the show. But yeah, that'll be coming too. So look
Oh,
out.
the R's are hard, bro. And
That's what she said.
and Tiny said something. If you do, and yeah, Joe is dressed as my own Scafusa Saint Tropez.
Patron saint of Scafusery.
If you do send an email in to Lone Gunman, please insert Liberty Lobby in there.
Do not do that.
Do that, please.
Do that. All right, folks. That's it for us. We'll see you next time. Peace.